Monica, and welcome back to Taylor-Made Cards for You. It's always exciting at the beginning of the month because I get to share with you a new kit, and the kit of the month this month is called Photobooth. Now this kit has some wonderful black and white images to create with, and I've also created some background paper along with some journal pages. So if you wanted to create a mini journal, you can do that as well. But today we're going to create a passport card. And if you're familiar with my channel, then a passport card is not anything new for you. But a week ago, when I was doing my YouTube live, we were just playing around and I decided to see if I could kind of add to the passport card, and we ended up creating a passport card plus. So that's what we're going to do over the next couple of days. Today we're going to create the passport card using this new kit called Photobooth, and then tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and add on to this card to create the Passport Plus. Now the reason that I call it a Passport Card Plus is because I have taken the original design of the passport card and I've attached it to an envelope. So the envelope is the plus part. And what's really fun about this is you can easily send a friend a card with an attached envelope and stick all sorts of fun ephemera, little pictures perhaps, anything you want. But it's kind of a card attached to an envelope. So let's go ahead and get started. So to start out, to create your passport card, you're just going to need an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and you're going to cut it at 5.5 and then score it at 4.25, just like if you were creating an A2 card. And then you're going to take one of the pieces to create your base. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut off enough where you just have about 1/2 inch left after the fold, and this is going to be your centerpiece. This will be your second page. So once you have that, you can go ahead and put it aside, and then we'll work on the base. Now the first thing you're going to want to determine here is how long or how big you want your card to be. If you want it to be 4.25, then you're fine where it's at. But if you want it to be 4 inches, then you're going to need to cut off on your right hand side 1/4 inch. So that way when it's folded, it's a 4-inch card. I've made them both ways, but it's completely up to you. And then you're going to put your card base into your scoring device, just like I'm doing here, and you're going to want to go ahead and score it at about 1 3/4, and then you're going to want to cut that piece off. And then once you have that trimmed, then you're going to want to go ahead and take that smaller piece, the one that's that you just cut, and you want to trim that down so that way it's about 2 3/4 to 3 inches. And that front piece there is going to be your first page of your passport card. Now the size could vary because I've created these passport cards different sizes. Like I said, sometimes I make the cards where they're 5.5, sometimes 5.5 by 4.25 inches. Sometimes I make them at 5.5 by 4 inches. So there's a lot of variations. So just find what measurements work for you when you're creating your cards. But ultimately you want to end up with a base that has the larger size at the back and the smaller page at the front. So that way it looks like layers once you put your cards together. All right, so once you have your base figured out, then we want to go ahead and work on the second page. And remember, we did score this at about 1/4 or 1/2 inch. I can't remember exactly what, but ultimately when that side is folded, you want that page to measure about 3.5 inches. So again, figure out how much you want to trim off, so that way when you put your card together, you can see all 3 layers. Now I got a little bit ahead of myself here because I was about to start decorating the inside panel of the card. So I started to trim off the edges to determine exactly, you know, what size I needed. And when you are decorating the card, a lot of times I just use the card for my measurements. So I will typically leave some edges showing. So I'll just continue to trim it until I have it exactly how I want it. Again, I make these passport cards different sizes, so sometimes it's hard to actually give you the measurements, but use your actual card base to determine how much you need to trim off of your designer paper. But before you actually start decorating your card, you want to glue down that second page. And this is the page where we scored that 1/4 of an inch, I believe. So you're going to go ahead and get that page and add some glue, and then you're going to put it on the inside, so that will create your second page. So once you add your glue, just go ahead and line it up against the fold, and make sure you do test that fold to make sure the card does close, and then give it a second to dry. Now I also like to round my corners, so before you actually start decorating, if you have a corner rounder, you may want to round some of your corners. This is optional, but I really do like the look, so keep that in mind. If you want to go ahead and round the corners, you want to do that before you actually start decorating your card. Now, to me, the funnest part about the passport cards is obviously decorating the card with your designer paper. And what's great about this design is you can use the base and create all sorts of different cards using the passport card design. It's just a matter of changing up your designer paper. So this is what I'm doing here, is I'm just kind of going through my pages, looking through what I want to add. And for this particular one, like I said, it is from my Photobooth kit, so I'm choosing pieces from that kit. I only created one designer paper on this particular one, which is the one with those vintage cameras. So I'm going to use that for the last page as well as the front page. And then on the inside, I'll actually just use some plain grungy vintage looking paper, because I'm going to be adding some photographs in the middle. I'm going to be adding some photographs on top of those. So I really didn't feel like I needed some designer paper for that. And like I said, when I am decorating the inside of the card, I typically will take my measurements right off of the card. So that's what I was doing here. I had my ruler and I was just kind of placing it over the page I was going to cover. And then I'll just cut just a little bit more, so that way when I do actually add it to the card, I have a little bit of my border showing off of the base of the card. So this is just an easy process. Like I said, decorating the card is actually the funnest part, because you can decide exactly what paper you want to use. You can decide if you want to add pockets. Typically, I'll add a pocket on the last page, but I have also altered it and added pockets on the center page as well. It's completely up to you. This is where you can get to have a little bit of fun, kind of changing up your passport cards. Now remember, you don't necessarily have to use the paper or the ephemera that I've added to this Photobooth kit. You can choose from some of your other kits as well. I created a kind of a mushroom theme kit last month for my kit of the month, and there's some pieces in there that would be a lot of fun as well. There's also a little vintage slide that you could cut out and use for this kit as well, which would be perfect since we are kind of going with a photograph or photo booth theme. And you'll see in a little bit where I actually used the die from the Tim Holtz collection to put one of the little photo booth pictures into the slide. But if you don't have that die cut, then you can certainly pull from the mushroom theme kit that was the kit of the month last month. Okay, so as I continue to decorate the card, I'm going to give you some ideas here on some of the decorations you can use. Now remember, this is a photo booth or photograph theme card, so if you have any old vintage photos, those would be a lot of fun to add to this card. If you have any of the vintage slides that a lot of people use in their crafting, those would be fun as well. Also, if you have old negatives, old film strips, which is what I'll be using here in a minute, those are fun as well. So anything that has like a photo theme or a negative film theme would be a lot of fun as an embellishment on this particular design. So as I finish decorating up this card, I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video for us. And when I finish decorating it, I'll give you a final flip through at the end as well. So that's it. I hope that you've enjoyed my quick tutorial on how to put together a passport card. And remember, I'll be back in the next couple of days to add the plus to the passport card, which is that fun little envelope that the card is attached to. All right, everybody, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks for stopping by.